Hello everyone and welcome. Today I'm going to go over some basic ways to open up a defense. First I'll go over some concepts and then I'll go over 4 basic ways to break down a defense. If you look at the upper section of this board, you can see the left wing being covered by the right back. You can see the forward being covered by the center back and a defender here helping out in support. If you look at the ball on the left wing here, many times what I'll see in the youth game especially is we see that the attacker try to take on the defender and go on a 2-on-2. 2-on-2 isn't a bad situation, but when you look at the scenario, really what you have is a 3-on-2. So let's just make some changes here. Let's say the 11 dribbles back here. The defender goes with them, rotates. The space is where we left, so the 9 moves into the space. And now you can quickly see when the ball rotates over to the 3, we've got a 2-on-1 against the center back, just by rotating and checking back into space. This happens quite a bit, and it's easy to solve, but it's not done very often in the youth game. Look down here, you've got a similar situation. Let's say the ball is with the center back. First thing the center back does, pass it up to the forward, and the forward tries to take on a defender. This isn't the worst thing in the world. Like I said, if you've got a one-on-one situation, go for it. But you can see that if the 10 checks back into space and the back goes with him, where's the open space? The open space is always where we just left. We move over here, and now all of a sudden we've got a 2v1 on this side of the field. Would we rather have a 2v1? Yes, almost every day we'd rather have a 2v1. In that last example, you could see that spacing was very important. It was important when we did the rotations, and then it became very important when we did the 2-on-1. In this example, I'm going to show you why wide play is important. I'm going to start off in the low block, but realize that this is important all over the field. As we look at this positioning right here, the 7 has the ball. We've got the left back marking him tightly. We've got the cover, and then we've got the balance. In the middle, we've got +1 against the 9 and marking everywhere else on the field. In this case, the 5 really does not have any tough decision to make. He's marking the 9 just fine. He's covering the 3 just fine. In the second scenario here, we're going to move the 7 out wide, and the 3 is still going to mark tightly. And the 5 now has a decision to make. Does the 5 cover the 3, or does the 5 stay at home and keep the +1 in the middle? You can see if the 5 moves out to cover the 3, now we've got 1-on-1 in the middle, and the middle is very wide open. If the 5 stays here, then there's quite a bit of space to guard right in here. I went over this on the defense. Obviously, the red 8 needs to decide to stay with his mark all the way into this space, or anybody else who runs into that space. So you can see the wide play by yellow creates problems for the defense. The narrow play solves all the defense problems. Another example of opening up the defense would be checking back for the ball. Let's look at this scenario right here. You can see that we're marked here, 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 and here. We've got a +1 in the middle, and if we pass the ball into the middle, it's going to be double teamed. Not exactly an ideal situation for the offense. If we check back on the 9 back into space on a diagonal, the 4's got to decide, do they go with the 9 or do they stay at home? Obviously, neither situation is great. If they don't go here, we pass it to the 9. He can easily get a shot off there, hopefully. And if he does go with there, you can see the space that it opens up here. The 8 could dribble into it if they beat their guy. The 11 could run into it. We could have somebody on this side, or maybe the 10 run into the space. Either way, there's a good passing lane. There's a good shooting lane for the defense, for the offense when the defense goes with the mark. You can see that I had the forward run at a diagonal. This is very important, and usually when you check back for the ball, you will go at a diagonal. In this case, the forward was in the center of the field and moved out into the half space with the diagonal run, and that drew the 4 out of the center space, leaving just the 5 to guard that center space. You can see if the 9 checked back for the ball, and the 4 went with them too. Now they're at a diagonal here when with their body shape, and they can easily hit through balls into space too. This is important either way you check back for the ball to make sure you run at a diagonal most of the time. Next up for the forward movement, we have the near post run. This seems to be one of the more underutilized things in youth soccer. It should be more utilized than not. You look at the ball out here on the left wing. We've got a defense that's in good position. The 4 chooses to stay at home. The space is obviously right there. The 9 is on the back shoulder of the weak side defender, just like he should be, and the defense has got a +1 there. If we just look at the movement the 9 could make, he could run into here. Now the 5 needs to decide, is he going to go with the 9 or stay at home? Most likely he's going to stay at home there. The 4's got it well covered, but this does require communications. Obviously, all the defenders are facing this way. Their body shape is facing that way. The 9 is running off the back shoulder of that 5. It's not easy for the 5 to decide what to do. By the time the 9 gets there, he needs to have communicated to the 4 what's happening. The second thing that needs to happen is the 4's got to decide if he runs into the space that was created by the 4 staying at home. Does the 4 decide to go with the 9? The 4 almost has to in this case, because if he doesn't, the 9's going to be wide open. If he doesn't, the left back feeds the forward, and then the 4 is late to the party to try to defend it. If the 4 does go with the 9 on the near post run, now you can see where the space is. It's in front of the goal. And once again, we leave the 5 defending alone. Anybody could run into that space. Let's say the 7 is already in here. He can check into that space, and it makes it very tough to defend. Lastly, I'm just going to go over an example I see repeatedly. Let's say the 8 has the ball here being marked sort of closely, but he's gotten him beat a little bit off the dribble. Typically what this guy will do is try to attack right here, see if he can get a shot off. That results in 2 players defending 1 with 1 guy right on his tail. Let's say this guy dribbles and goes and attacks the guy that's marking right here. What we've created then is now a de facto 2v1 situation with the 5 trying to hustle over here and make sure all the guys are marked. If the 9 gets proper spacing out here, now we definitely have a great 2v1 spot with the 4 in an impossible decision, needing to stop the shot, but also needing to guard the 9. You can see that this incorporates all the different concepts that we had before, using the pivot to attack, good spacing that we saw in the first section, creating the space through the movement, and making the D make decisions, and all the way through this. Pretty simple example, but incorporates everything that we just talked about. That's all I got. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time.